Hi, welcome back to my channel, and if you clicked and you're watching, thank you. It really means a lot to me. So today in this video, we're really underexposed. God's sake. Nope. I'll do, you can see, right? Today in this video, I'm sorry, I'm still totally getting used to this. In this video, we are going to be looking, or I'm going to tell you, because people have asked what products I use and what my maintenance regime is like. So this is like a quick overview of the products, and there are other ones as well that I either just don't have any of, and there's some that I probably want to try. So this isn't just it, it's just this is what I have right now, and they're kind of like staple things that I always like to have. So we'll go through them one by one. So yeah, we'll maybe do a more in-depth video on some of them, but I'm going to be honest, not even I know all the time how or why they work. I just know I need to use them, so I use them. I'm not going to pretend like I know. So yeah, let's get into the video. The first thing being Prime, which is a water conditioner, and I've used this forever, or since I started, and I really recommend it. I never have any issues when I use this in my tank, you know, from starting it and cycling it, this along with the stability from Seachem, which I'm going to move on to next. But yeah, highly recommend it. The great thing about this is it's really concentrated, so I have a huge bottle. I don't actually, how big is it? How big is it? It's a litre, it's huge. And given that I've got as many tanks as I've got, this will last me quite a long time. I probably use a little bit too much sometimes, but I think you can literally overdose this by 4 times the recommended amount and it's still okay. So yeah, it, as it says on the bottle, removes chlorine and chloramines and detoxifies ammonia, nitrite and nitrate. So very handy, good product to have. So next is Stability. This is an absolute staple. I use this every time I do a water change as well. I pop a little bit in just to ensure that the bacteria is present in the tank at all times, and it just helps when I've like cleaned the filters out and things like that, and I've maybe removed a little bit of the kind of beneficial bacteria. So this just ensures that it's still going to be in there and multiplying and keeping the tank nice and healthy. And obviously when you start in a tank, Seachem actually have on their website, this isn't sponsored by Seachem or anything, I do use other brands, but on their website they have like if you've started a new tank, they have like a dosing timetable, if you like. So using this along with Prime and some of the other products that they use kind of teaches you how to cycle a tank. I don't actually follow that, however it is extremely helpful if you do use their products like in sync with each other. So that's that. Next 2 products are also Seachem. So in my filters, first thing, recommend this so much, Purigen. I put this in, you can buy it in a little bag, and you can pop that in your filter, or you can buy it loose and buy some, I don't know what you'd call them, like little mesh bags, and just pop it in, and it lasts so long. 500 ml treats 2,000 litres, so yeah, you don't need a lot, so this will just last forever. And you can what's the word? I'm going to say rejuvenate, revive. Yeah, one of those words, a word that's not coming to me right now. So basically what that means is once you can tell when it's like being used up, because it goes like really dark yellowy brown, and you can use like a bleach dip, like bleach and water, not just pure bleach, to kind of bring it back alive again, so to speak. You can only do that so many times, but it is good if you're on a budget, because it's not the cheapest, but it is totally worth it. And what this does is it removes all the organic waste and crap from your water basically, and it leaves your water crystal clear. And I put this in my big tank, the big filter. I can't fit it in my nano tanks, although I wish I could. I'm sure I could fashion a small little bag to put it in the filter, because I think it would massively help, because yeah, it's really good and I recommend it. And the next thing also goes in your filter, Seachem Matrix, little stone things, and it's just good for housing your beneficial bacteria, because this, well, this is a tiny one, and it's basically just loads of little rocks, and they're really kind of light, and they've got like a really bumpy, rigid, holy surface area, and it's just a lot of room for beneficial bacteria to grow on, basically. And obviously that's going to help keep your tank, you know, nice and... I just realised this video probably looks really dark. I've brightened it, I hope that's better. But yeah, it just obviously keeps your beneficial bacteria healthy, and that helps to control your ammonia, your nitrite, that kind of thing. Next, let's switch it up. Let's move on from Seachem, although there is one more Seachem coming. Let's go to fertilisation, Tropica, and yeah, it's just awesome. You can obviously get seriously into dosing and dosing sort of singular nutrients at any one time on certain days, and then doing an alternate the other day, because you can... sometimes when you dose a certain thing alongside another thing, it maybe isn't as effective, and I'm just probably gibbering because I don't fully understand it myself. You can get really into the science of dosing fertiliser, and I am not about that. That would make me really bored and frustrated if I had to work that out, so it's not for me. But anyone who does do it is like awesome, because it's probably like maths and science, which neither are my strong points, so I stick with Tropica all in one, because I only have to do 3 pumps and that's it. That's as complicated as it gets. 3 pumps every morning in my big tank and it's sorted, and I get really good results with it, so I'm not like interested in changing to anything else or getting really focused on specific dosing, that kind of thing. And they have a little guide on the back of how often you should use it on what size tank. But this contains ammonium, nitrate, phosphate and other nutrients to ensure a healthy plant growth. And I overdose this a little bit and then do a 50% water change every week on my big tank. And it's got a word, it's got a name, what I can't remember, luxury uptake I think it's called, where your plants basically have too much, because it's better having too much than too little. And then you take the excess out with a big 50% water change to kind of reset your nutrient levels so you don't get algae, and then you just do it all again. So you kind of go through it a lot, and again, it's not the cheapest, but it's also not the most expensive either. So I always get the big one because I do 3 pumps in the big tank every day. And then my nano tanks I maybe just do once a week, or when I do a water change. I don't really fertilise them all that much, and they seem to do mostly okay. So back to Seachem. Flourish Advance. This has got a phytohormone in it. So basically when you've got new plants or trimmed your plants, if you pop some of this in, it's supposed to make the roots of the plants get like a steroid boost essentially, and just kind of strengthen them and help new leaves come and things like that. So I've only just started using this, but I think it does work. That's the word I'm looking for, is stimulate new growth, but I don't know what it is when I'm on camera, just I lose my vocabulary. But yeah, I think definitely when you've done a big trim and a real big hack back like I have recently done on the big tank, whack some of this in. Just kind of gets it to bounce back a little bit quicker, I think. The next thing, little bit controversial. What do I use to prevent algae in terms of chemicals? Well, the answer is I really try not to, but if there is some stubborn stuff, this, I'll just turn you to it, this big tank, wow, that's overexposed. When I first set it up, I set it up without CO2. And I had every single type of algae you can ever imagine, despite following every single rule, law, YouTuber, book, you name it, followed it all, got algae. The worst kinds, BBA, staghorn, hair, all of them, my tank said yes to all algae basically. There was probably some new ones that I'd never heard of, and it really disheartened me, and I was just like, what the hell, I just want to tear it down, but I didn't. And to combat the majority of it, the biggest thing was water changes. The other thing, which I haven't got any of, it's another Seachem product, and it's called Seachem Phosguard. And I use that in my filter as well because my tank is really high in phosphates, which was not helping with the kind of algae growth. I might do another video on that, like about algae in the future, so I won't go too much into it now, but if you've got really high phosphates or silicates in your tank and you're getting a lot of algae, put Phosguard in your filter. It helped me. Well, it might not help you, but it helped me, so maybe it might, it's a thing. But the really stubborn stuff that didn't go away, I spot dosed it with either Seachem XL or this, which I've just recently, not recently, but it's one of my newer products that I've tried. The 2-hour Aquarist Algae Fix. I've not had, it's kind of pretty full still. I've not had to use too much, but I still do in that big tank get little bits of BBA, so just in a syringe, squirt it in and it kind of kills it. But there are levels of algae that I'm happy to live with, so if it does resort to chemical killing of algae, that's what I use, or Seachem XL. Sounds like I really like Seachem, but I do, it's good. It's a good product. Another fertiliser, just because it's the same brand, this is empty pretty much, but I had tried it, is another 2-hour Aquarist one, and it's actually really good. This is probably really overexposed. It is actually really good, but it turns out that I had already low nitrates in my tank and this doesn't have those in, so therefore I don't use it anymore because I actually need nitrates because my plants seem to just suck them all up. So food varies a lot, but my betta fish, for example, they are on a diet of insect pellets, especially these fluval ones. Bloodworm is a treat, and Daphnia sometimes. The only thing that I would say about using, and this is only something that has happened recently with me, like dried food, like always get a high quality one, because some of them are like pretty much just full of air, and it can give you better fish. Swim bladder, which one of mine has got and I think he's recovering from, fingers crossed. I don't think that's from this because I actually really like this food and I've never had a problem with it in the past with any of my other fish. It's just this one fish, and I think it's because he's ate too much. They're quite greedy fish, and then they can get constipated, which in turn can cause swim bladder, and there's a lot of reasons that swim bladder can come about. It can be poor water quality, it can be bacterial, or it can be overeating, and given that I've got quite a strict kind of regime when it comes to water changes, I kind of don't think it's that, and I don't think it's bacterial either. However, if it is, I will obviously use a treatment for that, but at the minute I'm fasting him because it seems to be helping, and I'm pretty sure it is that, so we'll see. But yeah, bug bites. It's just a high protein diet with insects basically, and my fish absolutely love it. So that would be one thing, one food that I use. I can mix them up because I feel like they get bored of eating the same thing all the time. Another one is the Oase Organics, one that I've kind of recently just bought. It's supposed to enhance the colours of your fish. Don't know if that is happening, but they like it, so that's always good. And if they get more colourful from eating it, then that's also cool. For the algae is of the tank, so the catfish, the otters, even shrimp, guppies sometimes eat these as well. I use the King British catfish pellets. Mine really like them, and my coolie loaches like them too. And I also use their algae wafers, but I've run out of them, so I will buy some more. And I also use the, I want to say Hikari algae wafers as well. But they're probably in the cupboard down there, which is an absolute mess, and I'm not showing you because it's embarrassing. Just literally shove everything in there. I use the Denali Shrimp Kings. Now these are the mineral ones, just because I actually got these for my snails, because I noticed the shells were looking kind of white, which means there's a calcium deficiency. But obviously this is really good for the shrimp too, because it's going to help when it comes to the molts and things like that. And there's another Shrimp King one called Shrimp Complete, which is just an all-rounder for your shrimp, and I use that one, but I've run out of that one. And then lastly, this is like a bit of an enemy at the minute, and if anyone watched my last video, the Room Tour 2.0, you'll see why I have a love-hate relationship with this Bacta AE. I'm sure it's absolutely awesome, it's just me that has had a bit of a nightmare with it. And I won't go into it too much, but basically you can overdose on this, and if you do, it depletes your oxygen and can cause nitrite or nitrate spikes in your tank, which is obviously not good for shrimp, or especially not good for shrimp. So dose with caution. But who am I to say that? I didn't make it, but it had a pretty negative effect in my tank. But it's probably my fault, not these guys' fault. But the premise of it and what it's supposed to do is really good. It basically has lots of, I guess it's like dried proteins essentially, what it's made of, and it just kind of furthers the ability for biofilms and microflora, fauna, whatever it is, to grow in your tank. So it's like a staple food for shrimp, and especially shrimplets. So that is good, but use with caution. Definitely read the instructions and maybe just start slow before you build up to how much you're using. Water changes or maintenance is once a week, sometimes twice on the nano tanks. The big one is like, it can go longer, it doesn't need it that often, but because I overdose on the ferts, I wouldn't say I overdose heavily, but because I do, I like to do a 50% water change on that too, or even more sometimes. The better tanks maybe a little bit less than 50%, just because they're a little bit more sensitive to changes. That only gets a little bit once a week. I've taken the filter out of this tank because it broke, but there's that much plants in there and very, very few fish that I think it'll be fine. Knee click, ow. That I think it'll be fine without, plus there's a lot of floating plants, I'm going to say pants, and there's a devil's ivy in there, which is a beast at sucking up nutrients, so that's cool. So yeah, definitely once a week. And how do I do all these tanks water changes, I hear you say? Well, this contraption, this really crap contraption, shall we say. And what this is a plasterer's bucket and a water pump. And what I do is just a normal like suck your water out into a bucket, empty the bucket to empty it, but to fill it up, because I don't like to pour buckets straight into the tank, just because like that amount of water coming in that fast can be quite shocking for your fish, especially if you haven't got the temperatures like perfect. So I fill this up with water, and it holds like 3 of these B&Q buckets, which are like 12-litre buckets. And I have tons of these because I like them. I like orange buckets. Obviously fill that up with the water, put any stuff in, any of my chemicals, water care stuff, you know, prime, stability, birds, that kind of thing. Put it in there, mix it around like a soup, and then on the end obviously is a big wire with floss on the end. It kind of just breaks the flow a little bit, stops it coming out as fast. Obviously that's filled with water. Dunk that bit in the tank and then press play, and it'll just fill the tank up a little bit slower. Plus it doesn't break your back, and I'm old now, nearly 33, so yeah, bad backs are a thing. And it just kind of helps me do things quicker, because obviously if I fill that up, that plasterer's bucket is pretty huge. How much? It's 40 litres. So if I fill that up, then I can do these tanks pretty quickly. So if anyone's kind of eagle-eyed or pays any attention to any of my tanks or videos or Instagram, if you follow me or anything like that, you'll see that I have changed, and I mean literally just changed, which is why the water probably still looks pretty murky. Zeus's tank a little bit. I've done a sandy foreground instead. It was full of Ryuzingu stones, which I really like. But they kind of had to vacuum out, and they were just gathering a lot of like just mulchy stuff. And I was getting a lot of detritus worms, which aren't a bad thing to be honest, and every aquarium's got them, but I could actually see them and I was just ew, because I don't like worms, which is weird because I have snakes, but worms just freak me out of any size. So yeah, we've changed that. I don't know what he thinks of it. He's just like sniffing around, checking out the sand. This is a thing. Literally had some kaboomba, well, I don't know what it's called, but it's a plant. Of course it's a plant. So I put it in a vase and we'll see what it does. Raiden is feeling a lot better, I think, or a lot better than he was, because yeah, as I said, he had a bit of a swim bladder issue. He's still not totally himself, because you can see he's kind of just sat on the bottom, but he is swimming around and being a lot more interactive and a bit cheeky like he usually is, so fingers crossed that he's going to be okay. So yeah, as mentioned, these tanks, they get their once a week water change, just a tad under 50%. I mean, sometimes, I'm not going to lie, I do more, and people say don't do that for better fish. I don't want to be like, oh well, I've never had a problem doing it, because there is every chance that one day I could have a problem doing it. But I try and match my temperatures and everything, you know, exactly. I stick thermometers in, that's another thing that I use, just to make sure that the temperature of the water coming out is the same as the water going in. Just because, but I don't do that all the time. That's maybe like a once a month thing when I like to have a proper clean, so to speak. And yeah, I've not had too many problems in doing that. With Zeus has got some shrimp pals in there in with his now, so I probably can't get away with doing that because they are sensitive to big water changes. So he might just stick with kind of 50%. Peps did have some shrimp pals. I got some Bloody Mary shrimp and they quickly became my favourite shrimp. I always liked blue shrimp, but then I got these and I was like, wow, they are awesome. I think they just turned out to be a really expensive snack for Pepsi. Now, right, I never would put shrimp with a better fish if I didn't know that they could be trusted with them. And he, for a long time, had really shrimp with him, and they was absolutely fine. He didn't bother them. They kind of just did their own thing. I don't know if he perhaps just couldn't see them, because for whatever reason, when I put these bright red, beautiful Bloody Mary shrimp in, I have not seen a single one. And they might just be really good at playing hide and seek, but I think that he's just thought that they looked tasty. I've got a feeling he might have snacked on them, so pretty good about that. I'm just not having very much luck with actually, I say that Zeus's are doing awesome. He's got some little orange buddies with him. There is still some blues in with Raiden that came at the back to AE story. Yeah, some of them obviously didn't make it, but I did put the rest in with Raiden, and so far so good, I think, but who knows. I hope that's not why he's got swim bladder, because he ate all the shrimp. Anyway, this is just the joys of fish keeping. At the end of the day, betters especially, they are like meat eating fish. So a shrimp, or you know, a mosquito, insects, that kind of thing, is probably going to be like a staple part of the diet in the wild. So it is a sad thing. So yeah, I'm never going to intentionally put a shrimp to its death by keeping it with these guys. And now I know that Pepsi has a thing for red shrimp. I will not make that mistake again. It was just a pretty bad mistake or lesson to learn. But I'm all about being honest. I'm not going to lie and be like everything's perfect all the time, because this is not always what happens in fish keeping or aquarium keeping, having aquariuming. So yeah, there it is. On the top shelf, we have some new plants. Kinda. This plant, which I like. Don't know what it is, it just said that it purified the air, and I was like, yeah, I want some pure air in my house. But yeah, these are the killifish, which seem to be doing okay at the minute. I think there's some breeding, mating behaviour going on, which that's nothing new in there. Let's see if we can... These guys know when the camera's out and they're just like, nope, you're not filming me. Let's have a look. These are cool little fish. That's the female. She's not as colourful as the male. He's stunning. He's also a bit of an arsehole, but he is nice. Killies remind me of bears in a way. They've got that kind of cheeky personality, and they kind of know that they're good looking. Yeah, he's not coming out. Not having it. And then lastly, just a little update on the big tank, which is getting closer to being ripped down. I don't know if I've said it on my channel. I'm going to be a guest on Tropical Live, which is going to be on the 17th of March, and we are going to be doing a like betta / shrimp style tank, just a little like low tech. And then when I get back from there, also absolutely nervous as hell, but it'll be fine, it'll be fine. Yeah, so when I get back, I'm gonna tear this tank down. I'm hope that I'm just gonna get lots of inspiration and be super inspired by all the awesome plants and stuff that I see there, and then I will tear this down. That's just full of reflections. But that's growing nice. The moss isn't. The moss is just like brown and dead looking. So that's it. That's all the products that I use. And obviously I use other things too, as in like just, you know, scissors, tweezers, you know, the usual stuff that you would expect to use whilst, you know, maintaining aquariums. But if there is one product that I would recommend that you should get, it's this. A turkey baster. They're literally like 99p. And it's like the handiest thing ever. So like when you're cleaning out tanks and you're sucking the dirty water out and you kind of just want to agitate, oops, that has water in, and you just kind of want to agitate the sand, like squirt that, or like pump that, should I say, whilst the hose with your water that's coming out is next to it, and it just kind of sucks up all the nasties and all the waste organics and the poo and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that is my dream team Avenger team. That's my Avengers of aquascaping, basically. This is Hulk, Captain America, Iron Man. Oh my god, the colours match. I've just been a nerd now. Okay, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Bye.